Okay, in this pattern, we start out with double decreases, which is taking 3 stitches and decreasing them to 1 stitch. We've marked our center of the double decreases, which means that there are 3 stitches involved, the center one, and both of its neighbors. Now, it's kind of handy because this marker, if you think about it, is touching all 3 stitches involved in the maneuver. It's around this one, but it's also touching this one and this one. So it's not quite time to do it yet. I have to knit a few more stitches, we see. We'll knit this one, and we'll knit this one, and are we there yet? No, not quite. One more. And now we're there. 3 stitches involved in the decreases. We slip the first one, we knit the next 2 together, and the slip, you slip it as if to purl. You're just transferring it one to the other. There's knit 2 together. We're not done yet. Knit 2 together gets rid of 1 stitch, and now by passing the slip stitch over, we've gotten rid of 2, and we're left with our center stitch intact and that scarf around that center stitch. Now there's a gap on either side of it, and we are just to knit on to the next one where we get to do it again. So if we look at what we've just done a minute, we have a center stitch with a marker, a gap on either side, and if we can't see it very well, we spread that apart and pull on this, and it becomes very obvious the column of the center stitch. Now I have one a little further along, and I'm going to switch to that one in a minute because I want to show you how you do have to move that marker to keep good track of where you are. I've moved this as I've gone along, and it's kind of difficult to pull out the center stitch unless, again, you spread it out and pull on it, and it becomes very obvious. That's the center. These are the 2 neighbors, and so I'm going to knit up to here and do that double decrease again where I'll slip this stitch, knit 2 together, and pass the slip stitch over. Now these line up quite nicely, and if you take a close look at it, you'll see that the stitch that you get to slip and pass over looks like a little, almost a horizontal, slightly on an angle, a horizontal bar in the work. And they line right up here, kind of like rungs of a ladder. And you can count how many you've done by counting those pieces. You can also count how many you've done because every time in garter stitch, this is garter stitch where you knit every row, when you knit a wrong side, right side row, and then you knit back on a wrong side row, it creates 1 ridge. If you pull that apart, we can see 1 ridge, and sure enough, we can see every ridge has its slip stitch marking it too. So however many ridges you have is how many decreases you've done as well. Because as you know in this pattern, she doesn't give you line by line instructions, but if you just trust it, it says you have to do something until a certain case is satisfied, then you do something else. You're going to be doing these double decreases for a while until the next set of instructions says when there are 5 ridges, increase. Now if we pull this apart, we can count on our work: 1 ridge, 2 ridge, 3 ridges, 4 ridges, 5 ridges. At that 5th ridge, I made increases in here as she instructed, and I added 9 stitches on this end and 9 stitches on the other end, both ends, by doing a make one. And she tells you how to do it in the pattern, and that makes the cuff nice and full. The cuff, you're starting here, and do you see how it flares a little bit? That's all you're doing in that one row, is adding 9 stitches to make that flare a little bit. Don't have to do it again, you just do it once. And then she says to keep on going, meaning you're going to always be doing decreases when you see the flags. You're always going to be just knitting back on that even numbered row where you don't see a flag waving at you, and you continue until you have done 22 decreases. So I will see you back when I finish doing 22 decreases, and we'll move on to learning the increases.